Customs revenue up on Grand Bahama. Crime reportedly down by 50% on this island. And a beloved educator passes.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shoshina Rolfakis, and as always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance reporting an increase in customs revenue on Grand Bahama and giving an update on value-added tax. Here's the report. The Deputy Prime Minister reporting that customs revenue is up on Grand Bahama. He says this can be attributed to the hard work by officers under the leadership of Mr. Gregory Jones.
We look very positive in terms of the developments for this year. We expect that trend will continue as we take the lessons that we learn from the northern Bahamas to the rest of the Bahamas, which has been lagging a little bit in terms of year on year. We are trying to encourage our residents to be compliant. But at the same time, we are employing a number of new tactics and strategies to try and ensure that the revenue that is due to the government is in fact collected without disadvantaging any citizen or customer, if you will.
He is also giving this update on value-added tax since its increase of 12% last July. While
we are just shy of our projections, the trend is going up, and we expect that as the introduction phase normalizes, settles, that the projections will come into alignment. We are pleased. We are certainly ahead of where we were last year in terms of value-added tax collections. Again, reflective of the increase in the rate as well as some increased activity. But as we go forward into the second half of the fiscal year, we certainly expect that the projections and the actuals will come into alignment.
The Deputy Prime Minister says that there are other activities that have to be settled as well.
In respect to the gaming tax issue, which we hope we can come to a resolution in respect to that very quickly, which will help us to improve our cash flow going again into the second half of the year. The second half of the year traditionally is a heavy capital expenditure period, and so it's important that we get our cash flow in alignment so that we're able to meet our commitments as they fall due.
In other news, the Minister of National Security commending officers on Grand Bahama for their dedication on the war against crime. The minister speaking at the service of Thanksgiving to launch the new year. Megan Shepard reports.
Law enforcement officers in the various branches of national security attending the annual church service of Thanksgiving. The Minister of National Security, the Honorable Marvin Dames, on island for the occasion and updating officers and residents alike on the successful crime-fighting year. Here on Grand Bahama, murder declined by some 50%, with 5 of the 6 cases already solved. Minister Dames notes that this northern island is often used as a gateway for criminal activity, but says that officers have done a commendable job in apprehending would-be offenders.
I am pleased to report, however, that due to the strengthening of law enforcement partnerships, both locally and regionally, improved intelligence gathering, effective execution of operations, and improved visibility at our ports of entries. In 2018, 47 pounds of cocaine was seized with an estimated value of $750,000. 1,208 pounds of marijuana with an estimated value of $1.2 million, along with other linked narcotics trafficking with an estimated value of $1.5 million.
While 2018 was a good year for law enforcement, he says that in the business of protecting a nation, there is no such thing as a finish line, and that there is still much more work ahead. The minister adds that provisions have been made for the addition of 30 new officers during this fiscal period. He also announced some good news for the Western District.
We are looking forward to the opening of the new ultra-modern 14,000 square feet police station in 8 Mile Rock, which is scheduled to open sometime during the end of this quarter. The Cabinet during last year would have allocated some $5.9 million for a new fleet of police vehicles, of which you have already taken receipt of an inordinate amount, including motorcycles during 2018. In the first quarter of this year, the island is expected to receive additional vehicles.
Minister Dame says that the government is also committed to training and providing educational advancements for officers.
A memorandum of understanding will be signed shortly with the University of the Bahamas and the Ministry of National Security in partnership with City University of New York, John Jay College of Criminal Justice, one of the top schools for criminal justice anywhere in the world. And this memorandum of understanding will facilitate 2 professional certification programs, inclusive of law enforcement management and law enforcement leadership. This new management and leadership program is geared toward a mid-level and senior-level law enforcement officers across the country.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Meanwhile, police on Grand Bahama are continuing the probe into the fatal shooting of 58-year-old Lester Adderley Sr. The businessman and musician was gunned down outside Gwent's Plaza around midnight on Sunday. While tight-lipped about the investigation so far, Grand Bahamas Police Chief Samuel Butler says more cooperation is needed from members of the public on this matter, as well as other criminal matters.
We're following significant leads into that. We appeal to our community to further connect with your police department. We're here to serve you. We're here to intervene where it becomes necessary. Not only just speaking specifically to the event just a few days ago, but we know that there's some disturbing things happening on the ground in our community as it relates to criminal behavior, criminal thinking. It's not a strange or a hidden event for many persons in their quarters of understanding crime. We know that they're well aware of what's going on, and so we ask you to continue to speak with your police department. Some of these events can be circumvented with your help.
Reflecting on the murder cases that occurred last year, ACP Butler says greater attention must be given to prevention.
We've seen, as I said, last year 6, and I call those senseless killings, and no one have a right to do that. There are certainly better ways of resolving issues, and many of those are under issues of retaliation. We want to be play a role with that. If you need the police help to intervene in a conflict that's not been resolved, the police department is certainly available to you.
And also from police tonight, the force's firearm unit is urging the public that the deadline for the licensing and firearms has expired. Sergeant Randy Lewis is the officer in charge.
So far, more than 50% of the persons who are firearm license holders for Grand Bahama District have renewed their license. We still have a number of persons still outstanding with renewal. We encourage all persons who have not come to renew, please come in and renew your firearm. Because right now your firearm is unlicensed and it needs to be renewed.
Now, if you haven't registered as yet, you may have to pay an additional fee.
Persons who get them, they are for hunting, which means they are not to be driven around in your car, getting to nightclubs, out partying with your firearm. Your firearm, if it's for hunting, when dark falls, that firearm should be in your safe, and not to be driving around. That's one of something that I would tell persons when they come to apply and they are given a firearm not to do. The only person who should have access to that firearm is the license holder. Now you could have more than one person in a household, of course, over the age of 18 for that firearm, and all persons will have to pay the same fee for that same firearm. But you could have more than one person in a license. And in the case of, like I said, with persons who died, if you have like a son and a father on the same firearm, you wouldn't have to turn it in because you could continue paying your fee for the firearm.
And still with news from the crime beat, 2 men charged before the court on one count of armed robbery. 23-year-old Shaquan Ewing of Raleigh Drive and 24-year-old Andy Taylor of Granville Avenue were both arraigned before Magistrate Charlton Smith today. They were not allowed to enter a plea and were remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. The armed robbery is in connection with a robbery that took place at the Jabbar's Restaurant and Bar on Yellow Pine Street. That was back on January 8th. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after this break.